What's going on, everybody? John Eric Poli here with My MMA News, and today's guest has a big fight coming up on June 19th. I'm talking to the Skazi and fellow coffee addict King Casey O'Neill. She fights Lara Procopio again on that June 19th card. Korean Zombie and Dan Ige are the main event for that card. So let's bring Casey in here. Welcome her to the program. Casey, how are you doing? And thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule to be here today.
Yeah, I'm doing good. I actually have a coffee right here. So I'm pretty good, pretty happy.
Awesome. I'm a big coffee fan myself. I went to Starbucks today and loaded up, and I'm going to ask you a little bit more about coffee in the later on here in the interview. But to get things started, Casey, before we get into anything fight related, I want to address some of the travel things here. So everyone knows that you're born in Scotland. You repped the Australia kit in your first UFC fight. Of course, now you're in Vegas. You spent some time in Thailand. Kind of just tell everybody about all the travel here and break it down in case anybody's confused, because you have about 4 different countries going on here. So let's break down from the time you were born until current day in Las Vegas, all the traveling you've done.
Yeah, so okay, I was born in Scotland and lived in Scotland until I was 10 or so. My parents wanted to move, so I didn't really get a say in that first move. They wanted to move somewhere a bit more sunny and a little bit more fun, I guess. So we moved. No complaints from me though, because growing up in Australia was really awesome. Going from like somewhere like Scotland, which I loved, but it was a bit dull and gloomy and cold. And then I got to go to Australia and be on the beach all the time and have those theme parks right close to me as well where I lived. So I was living the dream for a while in Australia, and then decided to move to Thailand. I went there originally for the Tiger Muay Thai trials to get onto their pro team. So I went and done that. And then when I got the scholarship to move there, I went home, packed all my stuff into 2 suitcases, got a one-way trip to Thailand and decided to go for it. Quit my job and everything on a couple hours notice. Everyone wasn't too happy with me, but it was a decision that I made in the moment, and I'm super glad that I did, because Thailand was an awesome experience to be there and live there and train full time for the first time in my life. You know, I grew so much when I was in Thailand so fast, and then COVID happened, so we shut down. Like the country slowly started to shut down, and there was no gym. Even the beaches were closed. It was sort of like, oh my God, I'm on this like tropical paradise island and now I can't do anything. I just have to sit in my room and watch TV. So I got offered a fight on UAE Warriors in Abu Dhabi, and I went and did that. And I got from there to Vegas and decided to stay in Vegas once I got my UFC contract. Sorry, that was a little bit confusing, but it still confuses me, everything that happened, to be honest. It was a bit of a whirlwind, and I just decided to go with things as they happen. So
Yeah, it's definitely confusing, I'm sure, all that moving around there. And one of the things that's really cool about my job is not only do I get to interact with all the fighters, of course, in an interview scene like this, but usually before we do interviews, there's kind of a nice little moment I get to have with all the fighters, having some back and forth. And Casey, before we came on air, we were discussing your travel, and I want you to tell all of the viewers the story that you told me. So, of course, things are different in each country, one of which is driving. When you first got to Las Vegas, you had a little scare on the roads because you were on the wrong side. So go ahead and tell our viewers that story.
okay, so I had only been here for maybe a week. So it was my first week of driving on the wrong side of the road, because I still believe that you guys drive on the wrong side of the road. So I was driving normally, and then I was turning into a mall, and actually one of the sides of the road was closed. So that was the side that you turn into. But for me, it wasn't the side that I turned into, like the side was open. So I drove on the wrong side of the road. And thank goodness there was a police officer right there to give me into trouble straight away. I thought I was going to get a ticket. I was like, oh my God, 1 week here, and I already made this mistake. But it was okay. He was very nice. He heard my accent. I told him where I was from, and he just told me to be a little bit more careful whilst I'm driving. So it's okay. All's well that ends well.
Well, Casey, one day when you become this big UFC star, you could drive on whatever side of the road you feel like doing it. We're going to follow your rules, okay? Casey, I do want to talk a little bit more here with some of this travel stuff, though. Out of all these places, 4 different countries, different parts of the world, what's been your favorite out of the 4 different places you've lived in?
it's hard to pick a favorite because every place is so different from each other. But if I was to say a favorite moment, I think it would be that first couple years that I spent in Thailand, just because I'd never really experienced freedom like that, So not having a full-time job anymore, not having to drive for hours to trainings. I lived right next to the gym. I was on a moped to the gym within 5 minutes and home as well, So yeah, that whole experience sort of really changed my life. It was the first time becoming like a full-time fighter, and yeah, I'd say that was my favorite part.
Okay, so one other thing too before we get into this fight, Las Vegas. That's where you're training at now at Extreme Couture. Do you think you're done moving now? Like, is Las Vegas going to be your new permanent home? Do you think?
For now, yeah, I am. Every time that we moved, I said that was the last time that I was moving, though. So yeah, for now it is. But I do live a little bit of a gypsy life, and I really like to go and experience new places and take what I can from new coaches that I really like look up to and new training partners and everything. I think that you can never grow enough in this sport. The sport, when you look at it in increments of like even 1 year, you see the improvements of everybody that's coming through. So I think that if you stay stagnant, you stop growing. So for now, this is my home, and I love Extreme Couture and I love 10th Planet that I'm at now in Las Vegas. But I would never say no to trying out somewhere else for a couple months, or going back to Thailand if it eventually opens with the Heckman brothers for a few months as well. So I think this will be like my comeback to a place, though, so.
Well, one of the nice things too about, I guess, traveling to all these different places, I'm sure you probably, even if you're going to experience other gyms just for a little bit, you kind of learn different things from each places that you go. And I would assume that probably helps you evolve as a fighter, because different gyms might do things that are different, and they might say, here's something that could help you do this better. And I'm sure that has to all come full circle eventually and help you become a more well-rounded fighter as you experience these different places, correct?
Yeah, exactly. I take bits and pieces from every coach that I've had, and I sort of put them together, and that's sort of what molds my game. There's not really a one size fits all with techniques. So the more coaches that you got giving you different ideas or something, you can sort of make it your own, and then nobody knows what you're going to do either. So like if they're watching one coach and you've had four different coaches and you take a little bit from everyone, you're sort of your own unique person, and you can surprise people on fight night.
All right. Well, speaking of fight night, let's start getting into this fight here. Right now, you're currently in training camp. Just how is camp going as you prepare for the June 19th fight date?
It's going, that's for sure. I'm grateful that it's coming up to the end. I'm one of those people that likes to step it up every fight, like likes to make the camp just a little bit harder, a little bit harder. So this one has been my hardest camp to date. Definitely been pushing myself a lot, and it hasn't come without its challenges. So it's been an experience, and yeah, I'm really excited to just get to fight night, have the fight, and have some donuts afterwards.
I love donuts too, and I eat them no matter whether I have a nice gym session or if I just feel like being a fatty that day. But more power to the donuts. Casey, let's talk more about the fight here. Tell us about Lara as an opponent and what it's going to take to get a win there.
Yeah, I think she's a good grappler. You've seen that in her fight with Molly McCann. She tries to take it to the mat and sort of control from the top there. So I think she's going to try and do the same to me, even though I do believe that my ground game is better than Molly McCann's. As you've seen in my UFC debut, that's sort of where I shine as well. But fortunate enough for me, I think that my striking's a lot better. I'm a lot longer, and I'll be able to keep her at the distance that I want to be at. And I think that I end up finishing her on the feet in this fight.
Big prediction there. We're looking forward to seeing that fight. Case, we're going to back up now just for a second to after your last fight. You were hoping for two things. You wanted to get a fight in no later than late May. You were also hoping to have a opponent that had a few fights underneath their belt. Well, you, in a way, really didn't get either one of those things. You're fighting now mid-June, and you're facing an opponent who only had two fights in the UFC so far. So, I guess, are you satisfied kind of with the way how things have played out, or are you a little upset that you would have rather have gotten a fight in earlier and had an opponent with a few fights under their belt like you originally wanted?
I mean, I would have liked to fight in May. I actually did try and take a short notice replacement fight in May. I tried to step in for a fight, and Mick said no because I already had a fight booked. So I really did push for that and try. And that person did also have quite a few more UFC fights. I'll let everyone try and figure out who that is on their own. But that never ended up coming to fruition. So now I'm fighting Lara in June. Hey, it's not that much later than May, so I can't complain. Extra time just means that I'm going to be extra ready. And yeah, as far as the fights go, she has only had 2 fights, but our records are similar, and I think that it is a good sort of stepping stone for me, you know. So like I said, also I want to fight everyone in the division from the bottom to the top. So this is just the next name that I get to go out there and fight, and I'll be definitely pushing at Mick to turn me around fast straight after this one as well, like I always do. So yeah, Mick's got his hands full with me, that's for sure.
I bet that he does. And Casey, let's talk about some of this process. You were, of course, mentioning Mick Maynard. He is the UFC matchmaker. Kind of explain to everybody a little bit about this process of how exactly you go about setting up fights. Like, you obviously have to call him, then does he offer it to you? Does he go to your manager? Is there, like, how much back and forth is there behind the scenes that people might not realize when they're like, why isn't this fighter getting inside of the octagon already? They say they want to fight, why aren't they in there? It's a complicated process, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of politics, right? So I go through my manager, Daniel Rubenstein, and he talks to Mick. And if I really want to be pushy, I'll message Mick myself. But I kind of like to let it, you know, let myself be outside of that. But I definitely push Danny quite a bit. I call him a lot. After my last fight, I think I was on the phone to him 20 minutes later, telling him, okay, like, we have to get another fight because I wanted to show more than what I showed. And he was like, well, let's just calm down, slow down. I'm one of those people that likes to go fast. That, you know, once I got my feet in the water, I wanted to go for a swim. So that's what I've been trying to do. And yeah, I think it makes it difficult because right now with COVID, the UFC are booking so far in advance with fights, you know, so more than people realize. So you're sitting here waiting for a fight. Say I finish my fight in June, and I might not be able to get in there until maybe October, November, because they're booked up until then with no spots. So I think that's what makes it the hard part, you know. They're already ready for all these cards.
Yeah, definitely. The UFC has been really booking a lot. I know definitely up to the end of July is 100% booked solid. I'm pretty sure I've been peeking into August. It seems like August is definitely starting to get booked up as well. Casey, one other thing too from your last fight, I wanted to ask you about. You were talking about the nerves when you were back inside of the locker room. Of course, when you first get out there, you're getting your name announced, the pressure and the nerves and everything. How are you now? You went through your first fight. Now you're going into your second fight in the UFC. Are you like more relaxed, or are you still okay during fight camp and you'll determine how the nerves are going to be there on fight night?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't make it a secret. That was the most nervous I've ever been. I think it was all new experiences, a lot of firsts for me. First UFC fight, first time walking out first time with Extreme Couture in my corner, the first time fighting without a crowd. So it was very different. I think the nerves mostly came from when I was standing there waiting to walk out. And I looked, and it was sort of just like a TV production crew and just a cold room. And I was like, oh my God, this is very different. Like, I've never been here before. So yeah, I think I just wanted to do well, so well that that's why the nerves came. But I definitely feel better for this one. I won't know 100% until the fight night is there, but I do feel better. I'm more comfortable. I've been in there now and I know what to expect. So it won't be sort of like standing there in the bright lights, feeling cold with the air conditioning blowing on you and you can't hear anything. And yeah, so I know what to expect.
And your parents, too, Casey, they played a major role in your mixed martial arts career up to this point. It was very upsetting for you that due to the coronavirus, that there was nobody in the audience, your parents couldn't be there as you made your UFC debut. The world's opening back up now. Have you gotten word? Like, will your parents be able to go to the June event, or is it still going to be Apex, no crowd, that they're not going to be able to attend the event?
Yeah, unfortunately, there's no crowd for this fight again, but the UFC are flying my dad for me to be in my corner, which I'm super stoked about. He's really only missed one fight in my life, and that was my UFC debut, the biggest fight, the most important thing, you know. He was my first ever coach, my first ever training partner. everything. When I was 4 years old, I started kickboxing with my dad. So this was both of our dream. And the fact that he missed that first one was upsetting. I know for him, but for me as well. You can't do anything when you're sitting in front of a TV screen waiting and watching. I'm not talking to him during the warm up, so he can't tell how I am and stuff. And he's seen me before fights, obviously, and gives me pep talks. And I really miss that. So after that last one, I think I sort of proved to the UFC, I was worth spending that little bit of extra money to get my dad out here. So who knows, maybe I go and finish this girl, and my next fight I can ask for my mom too, maybe. I don't know. So we'll see. Hopefully I'll get a fight in front of the crowd even, and I can bring them out myself and they can be in the crowd to watch.
Bunch of O'Neills in the corner there. Casey, I guess let's stay with talking about your dad there. Just, I guess, how happy are you knowing that he's going to be there on fight night?
Yeah, I mean, it's super important for me to have my dad there. I think that also played into the nerves for my last one. It was the first time not having him there, and he's sort of like a comfort blanket for me the whole fight week. I can complain to him nonstop about things, and he just sort of takes it. Whereas if I'm complaining to everyone else, they're like, "Shut up! We know you're hungry. Everyone's hungry. Like we get it." So my dad lets me complain a little bit more to him, and then yeah. So having him there is important for me. I always know that I'm gonna have a good fight if he's in the corner.
All right, Casey, now as we wrap things up here, I mentioned in the beginning, we mentioned coffee. You're a coffee addict. You have your coffee there with you. I know you're a Starbucks fan. I did see a picture on your Instagram, you drinking Starbucks. Help me out here. Starbucks is the GOAT. Would you agree? Is there anything better than Starbucks?
In America, there is not, but in Australia, there is. So, fun fact that I actually was a barista from the age of 13 until I left for Thailand. So I worked as a barista. So I grew up around coffee. I started by drinking cappuccinos with like half a shot of coffee, just full milk and chocolate, and then eventually moved to lattes. And now I just drink straight black coffee most of the time. So yeah, I got hardened with coffee in Australia, and we're a little bit luxurious over there. Everyone's a bit of a coffee snob. So you go to like these little like artisanal like cafes and drink your coffee there. And it's a very different experience to sort of America's on the go lifestyle. You guys like to be quick. You don't like to sit down at a cafe and drink coffee for an hour. You guys like to get it on your way somewhere and just go. So I think Starbucks is the best. I've tried a couple, and I definitely like Starbucks the best here. Natural cold brew is my favorite, and they've currently started doing this salted caramel foam, which I can't have right now because I'm in camp, but outside of camp, I love that. For a black coffee drinker, sometimes that's a nice treat to get the salted caramel foam on top.
It's funny, we have same viewpoints there. I drink my coffee black as well, but every once in a while, and a matter of fact, an example is this morning on my way into work, I did get the salted caramel cold brew. Definitely worth the 300 and some calories too. That was in it. I know you're obviously counting calories at the moment that you have a fight coming up, but I'm sure you'll be drinking one of those when you eat your donuts before your fight. One other thing now that I'm curious though, you said you were a barista in Australia. Why is it that the Australian coffee you think is better than anything we have here in the United States? Because I have heard the same thing from people that have went over to Australia and said that their coffee is phenomenal.
Yeah, I think it is just that timing thing. Americans like things fast, like fast food, fast drinks, in and out. Sort of like I go to my like breakfast here, like this place Cracked Egg that I really love to go to in Vegas, and it's super fast. Like the meals are straight to you, which is in Australia it's unheard of. You'll sit down at a cafe for breakfast and it'll take 30 minutes for your food to come out, but you're fine with that. So yeah, I think it's just the little things like the time and the lifestyle. Where I lived in Australia, especially right on the beach, all there is to do is sit there and drink your coffee, go to the beach, go back, have another coffee. So you would see people come in 2 or 3 times in the day, like getting a coffee, sitting down for an hour, working on their computers. So I would say it's that. And also, people are a little bit pretentious when it comes to coffee in Australia. You have to get it perfect, otherwise they're going to let you know that it's not perfect. Whereas here, I feel like you'll just drink it anyway. I do anyway. If it's not perfect here, I don't care. I just drink it.
Understandable. And I know this is more of an American thing over here, but do you do any of the Starbucks refreshers? Like they have some pretty banging lemonades there. They are awesome. I don't know if you're a lemonade fan, but if you ever load it up on your coffee for the day later in the day, you're outside in the warm weather, I would recommend one of the lemonades. Have you tried any of those out yet?
I haven't yet. I actually want to try a lot of things, So, I mean, after my last fight, I tried In and Out for the first time. I tried Cinnamon Toast Crunch for the first time, which is like the best cereal in the world. What else did I try? Jack in the Box. I had jalapeno poppers from there one time on a road trip. So I'm just trying. I'm taking things off the list. I'll add that to the list for sure. Though I do love lemonade, so maybe after this fight I'll get one of those.
I say after this fight, Casey, if all goes well and you win and we're doing this follow-up interview, I suggest that you try the lemonade out. We're going to do a review with it with you. All right, Casey, it's been a lot of fun. I don't want to take up any more of your time. You've been very gracious with it, and I appreciate that. Before you roll out here today, tell everybody where they can find you on social media, and also if you have management or sponsors that you need to plug, floor is yours. You get the last word.
Awesome. Yeah, everyone can follow me at King Casey MMA on Twitter and on Instagram. All my sponsors are in my bio. I never go into my sponsors because I always forget someone and they always get mad at me. So I'll leave it at that. But yeah.
All right, guys, there you have it. King Casey O'Neill, also probably known now as Barista Casey O'Neill. Always great talking coffee and, of course, talking fights. Big fight fan, of course, just like all of you out there. And for all of you fight fans, I just want to make sure that you guys are giving me a little subscribe down there at the bottom. Go ahead and click that button. This way you're going to get notified whenever I have a video that comes out. You'll be able to see more great interviews just like the one that I did here with Casey. Also, guys, MyMMANews, great website. That's who I'm with. Please make sure that you go to our website and go to our social media accounts. Give us a like, give us a follow, because we have great content that comes out there 7 days a week, and my colleagues do a lot of great work as well. So make sure you check all of that out. We'll see you later, everybody.